Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So today, as you know, we're going to talk about how not to give a boring talk. Some of us have to stand and give a talk, and some of us are normally terrified. They have what they call stage fright. They can't face the audience and they can't give a talk. But sometimes you have to speak, okay? So I think we need the lights on this side for the video to be clear. We need this side. So sometimes you have to give a talk. Sometimes you have to give a presentation. If you go to school, you go to work. Sometimes I know in the Somali culture, if there is a wedding, the father has to stand up and give a little talk, and the father of the lady has also to stand up and give a talk, and so on and so forth. So there are these occasions. Some people are born with it. They can talk. Like, for example, in the case of sisters, you know, they speak sooner than the brothers, right, when they're young. So this is a scientific fact. So some people are good at speaking. Some people are not. Some people have the ability, but they don't know how to talk. So I remember the story of one of the people who used to sit in the front. He used to dress very nice. He had a beard, and mashallah, he used to dress with a kufi and everything. So he always sat in the front in Jummah. So one time the Khattab was late. He couldn't make it for Jummah. They looked around. All the people there, they didn't look like they can give a good talk. So who did they look at to give a talk? The guy who was sitting in the front, who looked like a sheikh with a beard. So please go and give a talk. It's a true story. So the brother, he was terrified. He didn't know what to say. He didn't prepare. He was not ready. He never gave a talk, a khutbah before. But they put him on the spot. You have to give a talk because you look like a sheikh. So he went to the minbar and he forgot everything. I know a lot of us, we come to khutbahs every year. You listen to 52 khutbahs, 52 Jum'ahs every year. So now if you attended Jum'ah for 30 years, you do the math. So you see it all the time and you think, oh, he's giving a talk, he's telling us a story about Sahaba, what is the big deal? Or he's leading Salah, what is the big deal? Everyone can give a talk. So the brother stood there on the minbar, and this is something that happens when you stand there. You think it's an easy thing, but as soon as you stand in the minbar and you realize you are standing, you are taking the place of the Prophet ﷺ, and all these people are sitting in front of you, and this is the perception you have, they are gonna, they are waiting for me to make a mistake so they can mob lynch me they can crucify me after the khutbah. This is how you think when you are there. So the brother started to give a little talk. He was doing the introduction. So he said, Alhamdulillahi alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal arda fi sittati ashhur. So this is what he said. All praise is due to Allah who created the heavens and the earth in 6 months. Then he didn't know what to say. He fell down. So they woke him up. And after the salah, they prayed without him. So after the salah, they said, the only thing you said was wrong. You said, praise be to Allah who created the heavens and the earth in 6 months. What is this? It is supposed to be 6 days. He said, Wallahi, I wanted to say, because I forgot everything, I didn't know what to say. I wanted to say, all praise is due to Allah who created the heavens and the earth in 7 years. Then I thought to myself, but this is too much. I think 6 months is reasonable. Then after I said it, I thought that was wrong, then I fell down. So that was one of the people. Also, some people can talk. Like I remember one of the brothers, I think he's right here, he's sitting somewhere. We traveled together for 2 hours one way, then another 2 hours on the way back. And he was telling us stories about his childhood. He was telling us stories about the Sahaba. He's a very motivational speaker, one-on-one. The same night, he called me because he had to go and give a khutbah. They called him. They said, we don't have a speaker. You have to come and give us a talk. And he was terrified. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to tell them. What is this? So I told him, you just tell them in the khutbah some of the stories you told us in the van on the way to Toronto. You see, it's very easy. Okay? So the brother can talk. He's gifted. But he didn't know how to do it. So do you know the difference between a talent and a skill? What is the difference between the two?
Talent, you're born with it.
Yes.
And a skill is something you can.
Exactly. Ahsan. MashaAllah. So a talent is something you are born with. A skill is something you can learn. Okay? Some people are boring, no matter how much they learn. So they are not born with it. They studied all the techniques of how to give a fantastic talk, but they can't do it because they are not prepared. They are not talented. Okay? So I remember there was a meeting for imams. It was actually a training, a workshop for imams on how to deal with troubled youth. So that was also somewhere near here. So we went there, and the speaker was not a Muslim. Okay? So he had a presentation like this, and all he did was just reading his presentation. I know this is his field. He is a specialist in this field, psychology, whatever, but he didn't know how to face the public and talk. You see, he was not prepared in that sense. So 10 minutes through the talk, he was just reading the slides. So the imam who was sitting next to me, and he said, "This guy is so boring. Can we kidnap him?" And I said, "Maybe he's warming up. He's still, warming up. Give him another 5 minutes. Inshallah, he will be on fire and he will be knocking on the table. You know what I'm talking about?" 45 minutes throw the thing, and he'll say, "When you have a troubled youth in the community, maybe you need to give a call to this organization." I said to the imam who was sitting next to me, "You know what? I think we should actually kidnap him because this guy is no good. The subject matter is very good, but he was not a motivational speaker. He puts you to sleep, literally, The people have the stage fright. So there are some requirements for you to be able to give a talk or a khutbah. Two different things. Giving a talk facing the public, facing the people and talking to them is one thing, and giving a khutbah is a totally different thing. We'll talk about this in a minute, and maybe if you're interested, you can come next week at 2 o'clock. Then we'll assign you a subject, and you will talk about this subject for just 5 minutes. So you will practice what we learned today, and if you do that next week, we'll give you a certificate that you attended this workshop. There's one thing you need to put in your head when you talk to the people. That these people love you, they came to listen to you, they are your brothers, your sisters, you always talk to them when you go to Tim Hortons, as long as you are not lying to them. You are telling them the truth. And I will tell you one of the techniques how to do this thing the right way, if you put this thing in your head. It's always in your head. So a successful khatib is someone who captures people's attention and motivates them. What would make people come and listen to you? Because they either want to learn something new, or they want to be reminded about something, or they want to be motivated. The Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith, "Inna min al-bayani la sihra." Good speech, eloquence is like magic. You can't change people's hearts. You can't get people to do things for you. And this is what politicians do all the time. They either motivate you through empty promises, or they scare the heck out of you, so they get you to vote for them. This is what they always do to get you to vote. So it's basically like magic. What is the purpose of your talk? So make sure before you stand up and give a talk that there's something actually to talk about, and there is a reason to talk. Otherwise, if there's no reason to speak, then khalas, you don't talk. Also, what is it that you are trying to achieve from your talk? Because sometimes some people only stand up and just talk for no reason, just to say that I'm here, I can talk, listen to me, because they don't have anything to do. So they just stand up and make everyone miserable. As we said before, for you to be able to be a good speaker or to succeed in any field, you have to have two things in you. Number one, you have to have the desire to do it. And number two, you have to have the ability to be able to do something. Yani say for example, I like this example, that some of us, especially those who come from back home from Arab countries, your parents will always force you after you graduate high school to either go to the medical school to be a doctor like your uncle, or to go to the engineering school to be an engineer like your cousin. So they always force you. But if you tell them, but I want to be a teacher, you are not my son. You are not getting anything from my inheritance. This is what they do. So you have the ability because you're good at math and science and all these things, but you don't have the desire. You want to study something else. Believe me, if they push you, if they force you to go to the medical school or engineering, you will fail because you don't like it. Maybe you like something, but you're not good at it. Say for example, if someone like me, I want to be a basketballer. I want to play basketball. It is good. I have the desire, but I don't have the ability. I'm too short for it. Maybe there are short basketballers, I don't know, but in soccer it's not a big deal, like Maradona, you see? But you have the desire, but you don't have the ability. I think the other day I was talking to the sisters about the same topic, the ability and desire, and I mentioned the example of Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. He came to him and he said, Ya Rasulullah, amirni. It's an authentic hadith. He said, Ya Rasulullah, make me a governor. I want to lead people. I want to be a governor. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Ya Ammah, innaka da'if, wa innaha amanah, wa innaha ta'ti yawm al-qiyamati khizyun wa nadama, illa man akhadha bihaqqiha. He says, uncle, you are weak. You don't have the administrative qualities. You don't have the ability. Yes, you have the desire. It is evident because you came and you spoke to me, but you don't have the ability. You see? And this will be a disgrace on the day of judgment if you become a governor and you're not qualified. But if someone is qualified, fine, but you are not qualified. So this is his uncle. So the Prophet ﷺ understood this, that he had the desire, but he didn't have the ability, so he said, sorry, you can't do it. Bye-bye. Khalas. One of the good things, if you want to be a good speaker, if you are born with it, or maybe if you are not born with it, it is a skill you can learn, it is something you can pick up. You have to learn from the very best. If you want to be a good speaker, like if you want to be a good reciter of the Quran, if you want to be anything like a good soccer player, you have to start by imitating someone who is the best. You see, if you imitate someone who is the best, over time you will develop your own technique and you will be an expert in the field. But don't start from the scratch. Start by imitating someone who is a good speaker. Always listen to good speakers like Siraj Wahaj. There are so many excellent speakers. Norman Ali Khan, all these good speakers. Yusuf Estes, there are many good ones. So listen to them, watch their techniques, how they talk, how they make an impact on the people, and you can pick up these skills from them. Articulation, you should be able to speak clearly. Like sometime I attend some of the talks, but by some of the brothers, I'm not going to mention names or anything, just because someone just joined the group or the organization or this jama'ah the day before, this does not necessarily mean they are ready to give a talk and make da'wah to the people. They have to have two things. They have to have a style and they have to have the knowledge. A speaker, basically, anyone who is giving you a khutbah or a talk is basically like a cup, a beautiful cup. So the cup from the outside is the style itself. The inside, the substance. What is inside? So say for example, I'm an excellent speaker, but what I say is nonsense. Nobody will listen to me. Or I'm a boring speaker and the stuff I give, it's all from the Quran and the Sunnah. I'm not lying, I'm giving you authentic knowledge, but I don't have a style. So if you have one without the other, you cannot succeed. You have to have both. The style from the outside and what is inside has to be good. Like when you have a beautiful cup, if you have junk inside, you're not going to drink it. If you have fantastic juice inside, but the cup is not clean from the outside, the style, you're not going to drink it. Okay? So both have to be there. Wasil ibn Ata, is a very significant figure in the history of theology of Islam. He was an excellent speaker. He had one problem. He couldn't pronounce the ra. He always says ya. Like kabir, he would say kabiy. He couldn't pronounce it. So his friends wanted to make fun of him. So what they did, they spoke to the Khalifa and they made him invite Wasil ibn Ata to give a talk in front of the Khalifa because they wanted to embarrass him. So what he did, the talk is there on Google, you can Google it, Khutbat Wasil ibn Ata. He spoke for 3 hours, he didn't say a word that has a ra in it. 3 hours. So he thought and he rehearsed, and all the words, not a single ra in it. And of course the Khalifa was so happy with him, he gave him a prize, he gave him a gift. Okay? He was so happy with him. The same happened with me. I was in Egypt one time. I used to work for this Quran TV station. And so I used to test the candidates. So if they were good, their tajweed was good, their qira'ah was good, we'll get them to record some recitations for the station. So how it worked was they choose some verses to recite. So they pick a passage to recite. Then the next question was we pick a passage for them. So the guy recited, mashallah, his voice was very beautiful. Then this is the passage he chose. The next one, I told him, would you please recite from Surah Al-Fajr? So I said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم والفجر وَلَيَالٍ عَشْوَ. What? So actually he couldn't pronounce the ra. But he chose a passage that didn't have a ra, so we thought, mashallah. So we told him, bye-bye, khalas. You can't. Articulation, you have to speak clearly. We know that Musa alayhi salam, he was a prophet, he was an excellent speaker, but he had a problem with articulation. Why? Because as a child, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Taha, وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِّنِّي. Anyone who saw Musa alayhi salam loved him innocently. Even his enemy, Pharaoh, loved him. Okay? But for some reason, Musa alayhi salam didn't love the Pharaoh. It says in the books of the Tafasir, he used to punch Pharaoh in the face. He always pulled his beard, and the Pharaoh used to scream. So much so, and he didn't do this with anyone else. So he said, this kid is something. He's doing this on purpose. So I said, I'm going to put him to the test. So he put some fire in front of Musa. So the Pharaoh said, if he touched the fire, then he's not doing it on purpose. But if he took the fire and put it, like if he didn't touch the fire, then khalas. But if he took the fire, he held the fire in his hand, then he's just a kid. So they put the fire in front of Musa, and he took a piece and he put it in his mouth. So that left him with an impediment in his speech. And this is why in Surah Taha, Musa alayhi salam said, in other surahs he said, وَأَخِي هَارُونُ هُوَ أَفْصَحُ مِنِّي لِسَانًا فَأَرْسِلْهُ مَعَيَ يَرِدْ أَنْ يُصَدِّقُنِي. My brother Harun is more eloquent than me. He could talk better than me, so send him with me to help me with the public talking and all these things. If you are not an outgoing person, you still can practice to become a good speaker and to be able to face the audience and talk to the people. Start with a mirror. Lock your bedroom from the inside and stand in front of the mirror and give a little talk for a minute. And look yourself in the eye, okay? And make sure, and the more you practice, you will not stumble, inshallah, when you give the talk. But make sure, the reason I said make sure you lock the door from the inside, because your brothers, your mom, your dad is going to open the door. He will see you standing in front of the mirror and talking like, you know what, da, 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 da. He said, La hawla, my son just lost his mind. My son is crazy, okay? No, make sure you lock the door. Then, if you master this, you become a good speaker in front of the mirror. You start with yourself, then you go out. Bring your brothers and sisters, like 2 of them or 1 of them, or your friends, and give them a little talk about anything, like a small story, hadith. Sometimes you have to bribe them so you can get them to sit and listen to you for a couple of minutes, because you are such a boring speaker. So maybe you can give them candy or something, yeah, to get them to listen to you. Okay? Then the circle will get bigger and bigger, and over time you will gain the confidence to face the audience. But it all begins with yourself as a speaker. You have to have the self-confidence. As I said, because you are not lying to the people. Whether we're talking about a scientific fact, or whether we're talking about a story from the Quran or Hadith, or the Sahaba or Ahlul Bayt, you're telling the facts. So why should you be embarrassed? Why should you be shy to tell the truth? Because there are so many people out there, politicians and actors and magicians, they lie all the time and they never blink when they talk. Why would you be embarrassed or shy when you are saying that Allah says and the Prophet says? You shouldn't be shy because you are telling the truth. Does anyone here know the difference between facts, the fact, and the truth? Because there's a difference between the two. The difference between a fact and the truth. Okay. So I'll give you the difference and I'll take the candy for myself. The fact is a popular idea that everyone believes. And it doesn't matter if it's the truth or not. And say, for example, everyone believes, or at least most of the people believe, that it was Lee Harvey Oswald who shot President Kennedy dead in 1963. This is the fact. This is what everybody says, and this is what the Encyclopedia Britannica says. So it has to be a fact. But is this the truth? Who knows? Allahu A'lam. Who knows? On the day of judgment, you will know if it was the truth or not. Nobody knows. We're living in this world. You see all the conflicts and all the fightings in different countries, and people are killing each other. So this is the fact. Who is right and who is wrong? This is the truth. We don't know this. The reason is we don't have all the facts. They let us know only the things they want us to know. But that's it. Okay? So we don't have all the facts. So this is the difference between the facts and the truth. I remember one time we chose one of the reciters to recite a few ayat from Surah Al-Baqarah, I think. That was back in 2004. An excellent reciter from Egypt. MashaAllah, he knew the qira'at, 10 qira'at and everything. But he had the camera fright. So he called me the night before the recording and he said, I can't do it. I'm scared to death. I can't do it. I can't sit in front of the camera. And this is not the first time I saw someone like this. Some people, mashallah, they can talk for hours. As soon as you put them in front of a camera, my name is... Because of the camera, they are so scared, okay? They can't talk. So I told him the thing about the politicians and about the lies and all these things. So they are lying and they never blink, they are not shy. And you are saying the ayat of Allah, you are reciting Quran and you are shy. Wallahi, this is a shame. So I fired him up. The next morning he came and he recorded and everybody was happy, alhamdulillah. Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan radiallahu anhu, some Sahaba were gifted speakers. Some Sahaba were very gifted in speaking. Like Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was a gifted speaker. Ali radiallahu anhu was a gifted speaker. The Prophet ﷺ before all of them was a gifted speaker. Some of the Sahaba were not very good at speaking, or at least when they first started. They say that the first talk that Muawiyah radiallahu anhu gave when he became the governor of Iraq, he prepared the khutbah. He made a lot of rehearsing. Then he stood in front of the people, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and he didn't know what to say. So he was trying to squeeze his brain. Nothing came. So he told them, you know what? I prepared this khutbah. I've been rehearsing it for a whole week, but now I don't remember not a word. I don't remember anything. But you want a governor who is a doer, not a governor who is a talker. Do you want someone who can talk, or do you want someone who can do things, get the job done? Okay, they said we need someone who can get the job done. He said, okay, good, fair enough. Next time, inshallah, I will make sure that I give you a nice talk. Sometimes when you talk to the people, you have to be careful when you use the language. And sometimes, a lot of khutaba, and I've seen this, some of the brothers, They're excellent speakers. When they give Jum'ah khutbas, right? In the masjid, they give khutbas about Ramadan, about taqwa, about all these things. So one of these brothers was invited at a school in Alberta to speak about Islam. I think it was the Islam Awareness Week. So he started to give a talk and he said, Assalamu alaikum, my ikhwati and my akhawati. Today, inshallah, we're going to talk about Islam and Iman and Ihsan and the hadith of Jibreel. And you know, in Islam, the concept of Ihsan and the concept of Iman is very important. Alhamdulillah. 90% of the people were not Muslim. They didn't know what he was talking about. Why? Because he was using the Islamic terminology in Arabic that nobody knew. So the people were sitting like, what is he talking about? He's not using the right language. If you say this in the masjid, yes, everybody knows what taqwa is, what Islam is, what Iman is. And the deen, let's talk about the deen. Are we talking about the deen of the deen of the school? Or no, the deen is something else. So you have to watch what you talk about. And the subject matter itself has to be relevant to the people. Yani say for example, it's a true story that happened in Egypt. One of the speakers from Al-Azhar, they told him, inshallah, you are going, this Jum'ah, you are going to an organization to give a talk. Okay. Because every week they sent them to a completely different place or a masjid or organization to pray Jum'ah and to give a talk. He didn't ask about his audience. Okay? He said, inshallah, I'm going to prepare a nice talk. I gave it before and the people in the mosque, they loved it. So this audience must love my talk. So he went there and he gave a talk, but the people didn't like it. Why? He gave a talk about lowering your gaze, and the institution where he gave the talk was a place where they keep blind people. Oh my God. Yeah, well, it's a good topic, but the wrong audience. You know, but he didn't know. Before you go and talk to someone, you have to understand who is your audience. Are they old, young, men, women, Muslim, non-Muslim, educated, not educated? So you have to keep these things in mind. Sometimes I prepare a khutbah, and when I see a number of youth or a number of children in the audience, I make sure I say something funny in the khutbah so, I keep them awake. Because I care about my audience, I want them to be awake during my talk. Also, the way you look. It depends on where you are going. You have to look, you have to be prepared in the way you look. Because otherwise, if you are underdressed or overdressed, say you are going to give a talk to some youth about sports or about something, it's a casual talk. Why would you be dressed up in a suit and tie and a bow or if you're going to a group of business people and you go in shorts and your clothes are like this? No, you're underdressed. There is this story that happened in Ethiopia a long time ago in Habasha. So one of the scholars was invited to the palace of the ruler or the king. So this scholar was a farmer, so he worked the whole day. Right before Maghrib, he went to the palace of the king. He got late, he didn't want to be late, so he went straight to the palace and his clothes were not clean enough. So the guards didn't allow him in because he didn't look like he was ready for the party with the king. So they pushed him out and they threw him in the street. So he went home, he put on his nicest clothes and he came back. They started to eat and he saw the guards who threw him out. When he took his food, he took it and he threw it on his clothes and he said, eat, eat. So the guards said, what's wrong? He said, I'm the same person who came like an hour ago. You threw me in the street. You only allowed me because I had nice clothes on me. And he said, Nur Balon Bashamma. Nur Balon Bashamma in Ethiopian means you only respect the clothes. You don't respect me. So this is why my clothes is going to eat my food. Because you don't respect me, you respect the clothes. So this is important, the way you look. Also something we need to avoid when we give a talk, like they invite you to give a presentation about anything, or to give a talk, or to give a khutbah, what we call fake humility. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. You know what? I'm not an expert in Islam. I never studied Islam formally. I don't know. I'm not an expert in the subject matter. I'm not very specialized in Quran. I'm not specialized in Hadith. I never been to Al-Azhar because my dad went